Before I continue, there's something you need to understand. What he saw on that camera, it wasn't just something inside the building. It was something that knew exactly where he was. And after that moment, everything changed. Welcome back to the shadows. I am the Midnight Shadow. And tonight, we continue the story of the night when he realized he was no longer alone in this building. Listen carefully. He didn't move for a long time after he saw it on camera. The figure didn't move either. He was just standing there, in the room at the end of the hallway, completely motionless, as if he was waiting for something, for me.
I didn't move for a long time after I saw it on the camera. The figure didn't move either. It just stood there, inside the room at the end of the hallway, perfectly still, like it was waiting for something, for me. The worst part wasn't how it looked. It was the fact that it hadn't been there before. That room had been empty. I had checked it myself. I knew it was empty. And now, it wasn't. I told myself I needed to stay calm, that there had to be a logical explanation. Someone could have broken in. Someone could have been hiding. That's what I kept repeating in my head. But even as I said it, I knew it didn't make sense, because the way it stood there wasn't human. I reached for the radio. My hand was shaking more than I wanted to admit. "Control, this is night security," I said quietly. "There might be someone inside the building." Static. No response. I tried again. Nothing. The radio was dead. Of course it was. I looked back at the cameras. The third floor feed flickered for a second. When it stabilized, the figure was gone. My chest tightened. That didn't make it better. That made it worse. Because now I didn't know where it was. And then something else changed. The cameras started updating again, but not normally. Each feed seemed slightly out of sync, like time wasn't moving the same way in each part of the building. On one screen, I could see the hallway lights flickering. On another, the same hallway looked completely stable. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop. On the camera facing the security desk, I saw myself sitting there, watching the screens. But I wasn't sitting. I was standing. I turned slowly toward the monitor. The version of me on the screen didn't match my movement. It was delayed, but not by a second, by something else. It was like watching a memory instead of a live feed. Then the version of me on the screen moved, not in sync with me, on its own. It slowly turned its head toward the camera and smiled. I stepped back immediately. My chair fell behind me, hitting the floor with a loud sound that echoed through the room. I didn't look at the monitor again. I couldn't, because I already knew what I would see. The rule: if you see yourself, do not move. I had already moved. The lights flickered, once, twice, then went dim. I grabbed the flashlight and backed toward the door. Every instinct told me to leave the building, to get out, to run. But something else stopped me. Another rule: do not exit the building after 2 a.m. At the time, I thought that rule was ridiculous. Now, it felt like a warning. I stood there, breathing slowly, trying to decide what to do. That's when I heard footsteps. Not from above, not from far away, from the hallway outside the security room. Slow, measured, coming closer. I turned off the flashlight. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if I couldn't see it, it wouldn't see me. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Silence. Then, a knock. 3 times. Exactly the same pattern I had heard earlier. I didn't answer. The knock came again, and then a voice, my voice. You're still here. I felt my throat tighten. I told you not to come upstairs. That wasn't what I said. I told you to stay. The handle started moving again. Slowly, I backed away from the door. Every step felt heavier than the last. The handle turned halfway, then stopped. A pause. Then the voice changed. It wasn't trying to sound like me anymore. You're learning too slowly. The handle snapped back into place. The footsteps moved away, but they didn't go far. I could still hear them, circling, like something was moving around the room, trying to find another way in. I knew I couldn't stay there, not anymore. The rules weren't protecting me, they were trapping me. I grabbed the flashlight again and moved toward the hallway, slowly, carefully.
No, this can't be happening.
The moment I opened the door, the air felt different, heavier, colder. The hallway lights flickered again, and for a split second, I saw it, standing at the far end, not in a room, in the hallway, watching me. Then the lights stabilized, and it was gone. I didn't wait. I started walking, not running, walking, trying to stay quiet, trying to stay in control. Every step echoed too loudly. Every shadow looked deeper than before. I reached the stairs, opened the door, and stopped. Because the stairs didn't look the same. There were more steps. Too many. I looked down. The staircase stretched further than it should have, like it had been extended. Another rule came back to me. If the building feels different, do not trust the layout. I stepped back, closed the door. The hallway behind me was darker now. And then I heard it again, breathing, right behind me, closer than ever before. I didn't turn around. I couldn't, because I knew if I did, it would be right there. Instead, I started walking forward again, slowly. The breathing followed, matching my pace, staying just close enough to feel. Then it spoke, right next to my ear. You weren't supposed to leave the desk. I stopped, and in that moment, I understood something I hadn't realized before. The rules weren't for my safety. They were for its control, to keep me in predictable patterns, to make me easier to follow, easier to understand, easier to copy. I turned around, slowly, and this time it didn't disappear. It was standing there, exactly like me, but wrong. The posture, the expression, the eyes. It wasn't trying to hide anymore. It stepped closer, and I realized something that made everything worse. It wasn't copying me. I was copying it.
And if you've listened all the way to this moment, thank you. If this story made you feel uneasy, or made you question what you would do in a place like this, leave a like, and tell me in the comments if you saw yourself standing in front of you. Would you stay still, or would you run? In the next video, I'll tell you another story that maybe you shouldn't listen to alone at night. Subscribe to the Midnight Shadow and turn on notifications, because sometimes the scariest thing isn't being watched. It's realizing you're the one being replaced. Good night, if you still can.